The hall shimmered with the soft glow of bioluminescent pillars, casting fluid shadows on the silver tiles beneath Captain Elias Voss's boots. Silence hung heavy in the air, like breath caught between fate and fear. The Queen's decree still echoed in his mind, choose one or choose none. But now he had been granted a brief moment with each of the chained women. Just enough to make a decision that would echo through lives not entirely his own. 2 guards stepped aside as the first woman was led forward. Her chains clinked softly, not dragging like burdens but ringing like wind chimes caught in a sad wind. Laura, he had heard the name whispered with reverence from the officials. She raised her eyes to meet his, and for a moment Elias forgot the weight of command or the galaxy outside. Her hair cascaded like liquid silver, framing a face carved from serenity and sorrow. You were once a leader among your people, Elias said quietly, his voice low so the courtiers would not hear. Laura inclined her head. I was a guide, she replied. Her voice was gentle but not weak. I shaped knowledge. I illuminated dark paths. Then the rituals came and my voice was silenced in the name of continuity. I became tradition. He felt the ache beneath her calm. She did not plead. She did not beg. She offered only the truth, dignified, unpolished, and raw. Do you wish to be free? He asked. Her gaze wavered. Freedom is a word we wear like a crown until it weighs down our spirit. I do not seek escape, Captain. I seek meaning. Before he could respond, she was led away. The second woman stood already waiting, statuesque and silent as obsidian stone. Nissa watched him with a stillness that felt more dangerous than motion. Her skin gleamed like midnight under a starlit sky. A single scar curved along her cheekbone, neither hidden nor highlighted. It simply was. You're a warrior, Elias said, watching her carefully. I was, she answered, her voice clipped and sure. Now I am a symbol, silent, obedient. Until the day I die or am chosen. He studied her closely. She stood straight, chains tight but shoulders relaxed. There was fire in her, still coiled like a storm waiting to be named. What do you want? He asked. To matter, she said without hesitation. Not to be protected, not to be displayed. Just to matter again. The guard signaled the end of the audience. As both women stepped back into the line of light before the Queen's dais, Elias felt his throat tighten. He looked at Lara, reason without power, then Nissa, strength without purpose. Neither had chosen this path. They were bound not by crime, but by expectation. To choose one would be to erase the other. The Queen waited, golden eyes glowing like the suns of dying stars. You must choose, Captain, she said. That is our law. Elias stepped forward. His voice did not shake. I choose both. The chamber fell silent, a breathless hush. Then a wave of hushed gasps. The Queen did not rise, but the weight of her gaze deepened. You defy our law. I do not defy it, Elias said. I expand it. A long pause. Then the Queen nodded slowly. Very well, Captain Voss. You may have both. But listen carefully. If you break the chains before you understand their truth, you will not free them. You will destroy them. Elias lowered his head with respect. Then I will learn the truth. The Queen's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. Then let the burden be yours. He starfire soared silently through the veil of Zarthan mist, her engines humming low like a creature holding its breath. Captain Elias Voss stood at the forward observation deck, eyes fixed on the horizonless blur beyond the glass. Behind him, the two women sat in separate alcoves, bound not by force, but by tradition, a tradition he had willingly entwined his fate with. The silence between them was thick, not hostile, but loaded with unspoken truths. Laura's eyes moved across the endless star lines as if calculating the weight of destiny. Nissa, across from her, remained still, one hand resting on the chain that encircled her wrist. Elias turned. "We'll be clear of Zarthan space within the hour," he said. Neither woman answered at first. Then Lurie spoke softly. "You've made a choice that cannot be undone, Captain. Do you understand the ripple you've created?" "I didn't come here to make ripples," he said, "but I couldn't leave either of you behind." Nissa finally looked up, her voice edged with steel. "Then you must be ready for what follows. The Queen may have allowed your defiance, but Zarthan law is older than her reign. There are forces in motion now." Before Elias could ask what she meant, a proximity alert lit up the console. The ship jolted. "Contact rear quadrant," came the voice of Sira, his pilot. "Unregistered ship, shadow pattern. They're cloaking. And decloaking impulses, whoever they are, they want us to see them without getting too close." Elias tapped his com. "Shields up. Plot evasive route." The ship bucked again. This time harder. The lights flickered, and Elias saw both women rise in unison. Even in chains, their movements were fluid, rehearsed. Laura was already pulling up schematics of the ship's layout, while Nissa braced herself in a combat-ready stance, eyes burning with anticipation. Elias stared at them, still strangers, yet already acting as if they belonged on his crew. The enemy. Ship made no attempt to hail. It fired a low-yield disruptor beam that crackled along the Starfire's hull. The power grid blinked, and the ship slowed to a crawl. Engine response down 30%, Sarah reported. "We've got one shot at punching through if we route full power to shields and a short-range jump." Elias made his choice fast. "Do it." But before the order could be executed, Uriah stepped forward. "No," she said calmly. "That's not just any ship. It's a Warden-class vessel." Zarthan blackguard. "Elite enforcers of the royal law." Elias blinked. "How can you be sure?" "Because I helped design them," she replied, eyes distant. Before I was silenced, Nissa moved to the window, jaw tight. "And I trained the crew that likely sits aboard it. They're not here to stop us, they're here to test your resolve." A deeper silence fell. Not just uncertainty, but the shadow of something ancient. A test. A ritual. A trap. "What happens if I fail?" Elias asked. "They take us back," said Lara, "and you become a ghost forgotten by the galaxy." Nissa added, "If you fight, they'll strike with precision. But if you run, they'll strike at your crew." Elias exhaled, eyes narrowing. "So, either I fight a phantom war or I lose everything." Ra approached. She reached into the folds of her robe and pulled out a thin crystal shard. "There may be a third way, but it requires trust, complete trust." Nissa raised an eyebrow. "You're offering him the key of mirrors?" Lara nodded. "He chose both of us. We owe him a path forward." Elias took the shard from her palm. It vibrated in his hand. Images flashed before his eyes of broken temples, screaming winds, thrones carved from bone, and two women standing on either side of a burning star. "What is this?" He whispered. "It's the map to what you need to become," Lara said. "A bridge between us, between worlds, between futures." The power flickered again. The enemy ship hovered just beyond the edge of vision, like a predator waiting for weakness. Elias closed his fingers around the shard. His voice steady. "Tell me how to use it." In that moment, neither woman hesitated. Rhea guided him to the command interface and inserted the shard. Nissa took command of the weapons grid. The ship shuddered as the shard pulsed, then everything stilled. Outside, the enemy ship halted, scanning the starfire. And then it turned. "They've backed off," Sarah said, astonished. "What the hell just happened?" Elias looked to Laura and Nissa. "They saw something in you," said Nissa quietly. "Or in all of us." For now, the danger had passed. But Elias knew better. This was no ordinary journey anymore. The Queen's warning rang louder than ever. He had chosen both. Now, the galaxy would choose what that meant. The Starfire sailed through the darkness like a ghost freed from the chains of war, its hull scarred but intact. Silence had returned to the ship after the encounter with a Zarthan Warden-class vessel, but it wasn't peace. It was tension. Waiting to take shape, Captain Elias Voss sat alone in his quarters. The shard Lura had given him resting on the table like a sliver of frozen lightning. It pulsed faintly, rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. He hadn't slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes, two women standing on either side of a burning star, and something vast stirring beyond them. It wasn't just a vision. It felt like a warning. The door chimed once. Elias stood and opened it. Nissa entered, her step sure but slow, the chains at her wrists no longer dragging. She had adjusted to their weight, or perhaps she had never really been bothered by it. Behind her came Laura, more cautious, her eyes darting to the shard. "You haven't activated it again," Laura said. "I don't know how," Elias admitted. "And I don't trust what it's showing me." "You shouldn't," Nissa said coldly. "Not yet." Laura stepped closer, her voice softer. "The key of mirrors doesn't reveal what is. It reveals what could be. It reflects back the soul of the one who wields it." "And what you saw felt like a prophecy," Elias interrupted. "Like something I was never supposed to see." "That's because you weren't," Laura said. "Not until now." Before Elias could ask what she meant, the ship's alarm flared shrill, piercing, urgent. Sarah's voice crackled through the com. "Captain, we've got something." A derelict station, no power, no life signs. But it's emitting a Zarthan resonance. It matches the shard. Laura went still. "That's impossible," she whispered. "That station, if it's what I think, it's where the pact was first made." "What pact?" Elias asked. Nissa answered instead. "The pact that created the chains." They docked with the station hours later. It drifted in a dead orbit above a crimson gas giant, its exterior covered in alien growths like ancient coral fossilized in steel. Boarding was risky, no oxygen, no power, but Elias wouldn't send others where he wasn't willing to go. He went in alone, with Laura and Nissa by his side. Inside, the air was dry and thick, not with moisture, but memory. The walls bore carvings that pulsed faintly under the shard's presence, Arthan script, ancient and wild. Not the refined dialect Ara used, but older, brutalist, almost like runes scratched into time itself. "This is sacred ground," Laura whispered. "This is where the first queen bound knowledge and war into flesh." They reached a central chamber. At its heart stood two stone thrones, one cracked, one untouched. Chains extended from both, hanging loosely to the floor. Nissa approached the cracked throne, running her fingers along the broken armrest. They were sisters, not by blood but by bond. One chose vision, one chose violence. And the queen bound them here so their disagreement wouldn't tear the people apart. Elias looked between them. "You mean you too?" Ra nodded. "We were chosen to carry on their legacy. Every generation, two women are chosen. One who guides, one who guards. They are bound until a third a bridge is found to unify them. That's the truth of our chains, not slavery. Not shame, balance." The shard in Elias's pocket pulsed wildly. The ground rumbled. Something deep in the station awoke. A hidden door groaned open at the far end of the chamber, revealing a long corridor lined with mirrors, each one reflecting something different. Elias saw himself in one mirror standing alone. In another, he saw himself cradling a lifeless Nissa. Another showed a galaxy burning while he stood, untouched. Rhea stepped beside him. "These are the futures you could choose. But only one is Real. How do I know which? Elias asked. You don't, said Nissa. You feel it. You walk through. And you bear the cost. The mirrors hummed louder and the chamber began to collapse. No more time, Lyra warned. Choose, Elias. He hesitated. Then stepped toward the mirror that showed nothing, just endless black. No visions, no fate. Just the unknown. He walked through. The darkness swallowed him. And then, light. He opened his eyes in a field of stars. Alone. Except. Not quite. Maria and Nissa stood on either side of him, no longer in chains. They looked at him not as a savior, but as something new. You walk through the mirror of no future, Laura said. Which means, Nissa added, you chose the one no one controls, not even fate. The shard in his hand dissolved. The chains around their wrists faded into stardust, and in that moment Elias realized he had not just defied a fight. Law. He had broken a cycle. The starfire drifted in orbit above the ruined station, the stars behind it flickering like distant, watching eyes. No signal came from Elias, no voice, no transmission. Just silence. Sarah paced the bridge, hands twitching over controls she couldn't fix. He's been gone too long, she muttered, but then, without warning, the coms crackled, and the docking bay lights flared. The hatch opened. Elias stepped through. He looked. Changed. His posture was the same, but something shimmered. Just beneath the surface of his gaze. It was as if the void had left a mark, not visible, but carved deep into his soul. Laura and Nissa followed, silent and unchained, their presence commanding even without words. I walked through the mirror of nothing, Elias said to his crew, and now we walk into something no one can predict. No one dared question him. Back in the ship's war room, the trio examined the data Luray pulled from the station's archive. What they found shook even her. This isn't just some ancient temple, she whispered. It's a failsafe. Elias leaned in. Failsafe. For what? For Zarthan collapse, she said. If the two chosen were ever lost, corrupted, or destroyed, the Queen had a secret program. It's called Culling Protocol Omega. The Zarthan system initiates a purge of all sacred bloodlines. It resets the lineage by force. Nissa's jaw tightened. She didn't just test you with our choice. She was buying time to prepare the purge. If she thinks we've betrayed our purpose by following a human, she'll activate it and kill millions, Laura finished. Entire cities, entire families. Elias slammed a fist on the table. Then we go back, we stop it, but Laura shook her head. We can't return to Zarthan Prime yet. If we approach directly, the system defenses will destroy the ship. We need access codes. And there's only one place they're stored, Vault. Meriden. At the mention of the name, Nissa went pale. That place is cursed, she said. It was buried for a reason. Elias turned to them both. You said I chose the unknown path, then let's keep walking. They set course. Vault Meriden was hidden beneath the crushed remains of a dead moon, once a Zarthan colony, now a tectonic grave. The surface was a labyrinth of broken glass mountains and magnetic storms, invisible currents that scrambled every scanner. But starfire broke through, guided only by the shard's lingering echo in Elias's skin. Inside the vault, the air felt wrong. The facility was overgrown with black-veined vines, pulsing faintly like muscle. The old walls breathed. Lights flickered when none were powered. There was a rhythm in the shadows, like something beneath them still lived, half dreaming, half waiting. Nissa went first, blade drawn. Laura followed, drawing sigils in the air that reacted to the vault's strange energy. Elias walked between them, his hand never far from the pulse pistol at his hip. Deeper inside, they found a locked chamber, a room with a spherical dais and 12 floating columns of rotating glyphs. In the center, a holographic guardian flickered into existence. Its voice was cold, ancient. "Identify the bearer of the chainless sigil." Elias stepped forward. "I am Elias Voss. I chose both." The guardian paused. Then you must prove you carry not domination, but harmony." The room transformed. Each column became a reflection of Laura, Nissa, and Elias faced with their deepest failures. Laura saw her old research being twisted into weapons. Nissa saw herself standing over the bodies of rebels she once believed in. Elias saw himself alone in a graveyard of ships with no one left to save. The pain was overwhelming. It clawed at them. Elias fell to one knee, eyes burning. But Laura's voice rose. "You are not alone." Nissa knelt beside Elias. "Let us carry your burden, as you carried ours." Together. They rose and the room shifted again. The vault released the core key, a glowing tetrahedron that hummed in Elias's hand. But as they prepared to leave, the vault shook. Something massive awakened beneath them. Not all protocols. "Sleep forever," Luri whispered. From the broken walls, a creature emerged 10 feet tall, wrapped in obsidian armor laced with old Zarthan sigils. It was no beast. It was a purifier, one of the ancient machines built to erase unworthy heirs. "Target confirmed," it growled. "Human bond declared. Sentence, extinction." Elias stood before it. Unarmed, unflinching. "I didn't come to erase Zarthan blood," he said. "I came to give it a future." The purifier charged. Nissa met it with a cry, blade flashing. Sparks flew. Laura cast a wave of pure kinetic energy, cracking the vault walls. Elias dove for the core dais, slamming the tetrahedron into the command port. The purifier froze mid-strike, and then shut down. Breathing heavy, Elias turned to the others. "It won't be the last," Nissa said. "No," Laura agreed, "but we have the codes." Elias looked toward the stars, jaw set. "Then we take the fight to the Queen." The journey back from Vault Mirrodin was a quiet one, but not peaceful. The kind of quiet that held weight, like the sky before a storm. The codes had been retrieved. The vault had been survived, but something had changed in all of them. The deeper Elias Voss walked into the traditions of the Zarthans, the more he realized he was not bending an ancient law, he was rewriting a legend with every step. In the Starfire's command chamber, the air was thick with tension. The core key pulsed. With energy on the console, ready to unlock the royal defense systems on Zarthan Prime. But Elias wasn't staring at the device. He was staring at his reflection in the dark glass. Not because he was admiring it, because he wasn't sure who was looking back. Behind him, Laura entered with a tablet of rotating glyphs, decoding fragments from the vault. "There's something I didn't tell you before," she said softly. "The purifiers. They weren't the last line of defense." Elias turned. "There's more?" She nodded, tapping the tablet. "The Queen's final command, a program called the Severance. If activated, it will permanently erase all living memory of the 2 bonded heirs. You, me, and Nissa. Not just from law, but from history. Every record, every monument, every memory signature. We would become ghosts." Nissa joined them, her expression colder than usual. "It's worse than death," she said. "It's unmaking." Elias leaned forward, knuckles white on the table. "And she'll use it the moment we step onto Zarthan Prime. Unless," Laura added carefully, "we reach the Citadel first." Elias looked between them. "You said the Citadel's guarded." "By the vaulted guard, I remember. 24 warriors bound in oath." Laura looked down. "Not warriors, not anymore." "They've ascended," Nissa explained. "They fused with the throne's ancient AI. They're no longer men or women. They are voices of judgment, eternal. If they see you as a threat to the balance, They'll end you before the queen ever needs to lift a hand." Elias rubbed his face, the fatigue seeping into his bones. "Let me guess. No weapon will touch them." Nissa smiled faintly. "Now you're learning." Sarah's voice buzzed through the intercom. "We've got proximity locks. 3 Zarthan. Patrol ships. They've identified us." Elias didn't hesitate. "Open comes." A holographic image flared to life on the main screen, a Zarthan captain in full ceremonial armor. Her face was tattooed with spirals of red and white. Her voice was ice. "You carry stolen blood and corrupted codes. You are forbidden from crossing into sovereign Zarthan space. Turn back or be erased." Elias stepped forward. "Tell your queen, the man who chose both is coming home." The hologram flickered and vanished. An instant later, alarm screamed. "There." "Arming weapons," Sarah warned. "Brace for impact." Elias barked. The ship rocked as the first blast struck the rear thrusters. Sparks flew across the command deck. "They've locked us into a magnetic tether," Nissa called. "We're being pulled." Elias turned to Lura. "Can you override it?" She tapped frantically on the console. "Not unless I access the tethers. Origin code directly. I'll need to jack in physically." "I'll go with you," Elias said. "No," Nissa cut in. "I will." The silence that followed was thick. "She might not come back," Laura warned. Elias turned to Nissa. "Are you?" "Sure?" She met his eyes, the fire in them unflinching. "I was bred for war, Elias. Let me do what I was made for." The 3 descended to the lower hangar where the magnetic link had anchored itself like a glowing serpent into the hull. Nissa climbed onto a maintenance platform as a rerouted power feeds. Elias stood below, watching her disappear into the chaos of energy. Every second ticked like a countdown. Inside the tether's core, Nissa moved like shadow and flame. Her body dodged searing beams of heat. Her fingers connected wires in a blur. Her breath quickened, but her will never wavered. Then, the energy surged. Laura screamed through the comm. "Nissa, get out. It's spiking." "No time," Nissa whispered. Then, silence. The ship lurched and the tether disengaged. They were free, but Nissa wasn't on board. Elias stood motionless, staring at the empty corridor. Minutes passed like hours. Then a light flickered in the emergency bay. The outer hatch hissed open. And Nissa crawled through, armor cracked, skin scorched but alive. Elias rushed forward and caught her before she fell. "I told you," she whispered. "I matter." Laura knelt beside them, tears glistening on her cheeks. "You always did," she said. As medtechs moved in to tend to Nissa's wounds. Elias stood and turned toward the forward viewport. Zarthan Prime glowed like a silver jewel. In the distance, its rings shimmering with stormlight. But now it wasn't just a world. It was the final battleground. Elias stepped forward, voice calm and certain. "Set course for the Citadel. We finish this." The storm wall surrounding Zarthan Prime was unlike anything the Starfire had encountered. It shimmered with interlaced threads of light and shadow, moving not like wind but like thought. A living force field encoded with eons of Zarthan will. Ships that tried to force their way in without permission were shredded on contact, erased so cleanly that even their wreckage disobeyed memory. Captain Elias Voss stood on the command deck, staring into the storm. It was not fear that gripped him, it was knowing. Behind that storm lay judgment. Behind that judgment, a throne. And on that throne sat a queen who had already written their fate. But fate, Elias had learned, was only one story among many. Illyra stood at his left, her hand resting on a crystalline interface that shimmered with threads of ancestral code. Nissa stood at his right, her armor now reforged, scarred from the magnetic tether battle, but stronger. Her every movement was silent power. The starfire hovered before the storm like a breath held too long. Elias spoke. "Are you ready?" Laura whispered. "We have the key." Nissa added, "We have each other." The shard, now transformed into a pulsating core from the vault, was inserted into the main conduit. The ship trembled. The storm flickered. A voice erupted from nowhere and everywhere. "You carry defiance. You carry fusion. You carry forbidden paths. You are not welcome." Elias stood tall. "I carry truth. Open the veil." For one impossibly long moment, the storm didn't move. Then light broke. A path appeared, carved from golden fire, parting. The storm, like reverence, parted silence. The starfire surged forward. Beyond the veil lay Zarthan Prime, luminous and vast, its continents etched with glowing ley lines that moved like rivers of memory. In the center of the world rose the citadel of echoes, carved from black glass and starlight. 12 spires circled the throne dome, each representing one ancient law. At its heart, the seat of the queen and her court of judgment. The ship couldn't land on the citadel directly. Protocol dictated all challengers must walk the bridge of balance, an energy pathway suspended over the sea of mirrors. One misstep and the sea would swallow the intruder, in echoes of their worst memories. The queen had designed it herself. Elias, Lara, and Nissa stood before the entrance of the bridge. No armor, no weapons. Only conviction. As they stepped onto the bridge, the sky shifted. Faces formed in the cloud specters of past challengers. Most had failed. Their screams still echoed faintly across the mirrored sea. The bridge trembled beneath their feet. Lara stumbled. The reflection beneath her began to twist, showing a younger version of herself, leading Zarthan scholars into ruin, their knowledge becoming weapons. She froze. Elias caught her wrist. "That isn't you anymore." Nissa's side of the bridge rippled too. Her mirror showed her leading executions of rebels she once called sisters. Blood painted her hands. But she kept walking. "I carry it," she said. "So it won't carry me." Elias looked down. His mirror showed the starfire destroyed. His crew dead. Lara and Nissa shackled once again. He stood alone, forgotten. A foolish man who tried to rewrite laws he never understood. He kept walking. They reached the center. A thunderclap split the sky. The 12 spires ignited, each one burning with a different hue: knowledge, duty, silence, war, judgment, sacrifice, exile, remembrance, obedience, choice, blood, balance. From within the throne dome, a voice rang out. The queen's voice. "The man who chose both now stands where no outsider should. Speak your plea, Elias Voss, before judgment is cast." Elias stepped forward. "I chose both not to defy your law, but to honor what it forgot. Balance is not obedience. It's choice. Lara is knowledge. Nissa is strength. But without compassion, your laws become prisons. I won't let this galaxy trade honor for silence." The queen appeared atop the steps, tall and radiant, her golden eyes burning. "You speak boldly," she said, "but words do not change fate. You have entered sacred ground with broken law. You walk beside those who were never meant to walk. Together." "Then maybe it's the law that's broken," Elias answered. The court gasped. But the queen did not flinch. Instead, she raised her hand. 12 sentinels stepped forward from each spire, half machine, half spirit, forged from the souls of past heirs. These were the Judgment Guard, final arbiters of Zarthan purity. Their command: erase the heretic and the 2 bound women. Lara turned to Elias. "We can't fight them." Nissa looked ahead, jaw clenched. "Then we die showing the truth." But Elias took one step forward and raised nothing. No blade, no shield, just his open hands. "I don't want your throne," he said. "I don't want your crown. I want your future to remember how to choose again." The sentinel stopped. The queen's eyes narrowed. "You would risk death for philosophy?" "No," Elias said. "I would risk death for them." Raz. Chains shimmered and broke. Nissa's followed, crumbling into stardust. The throne dome pulsed. Then the queen descended the steps, slowly, carefully, until she stood before Elias. She placed her hand over his heart. "You carry both," she said. "And because of that, you carry everything." A pause. Then she turned to the court. "The judgment is suspended. The chains will not bind again." Gasps. Chaos. Hope. Zarthan law had been bent but not shattered. And something new had taken root. The queen looked back once more. "Finish what you've started, Elias Voss. Walk them into the future." And just like that he did. The air around the citadel of echoes had changed. The sky above Zarthan Prime no longer trembled with judgment, but hung in stillness as if the planet itself was holding its breath. The people, those watching from crystal towers, from mirrored plains, from sanctums deep beneath the soil, had seen something that defied not just their laws, but their understanding of destiny. Captain Elias Voss stood at the apex of Zarthan civilization, not as a conqueror, not as a rebel, but as a man who had walked into the very heart of a culture bound by chains and dared to listen. The queen had stepped aside. The court had gone silent. And for the first time in generations, the throne stood empty. But peace had not yet arrived, because deep beneath the citadel, in chambers older than the queen herself, a final protocol had begun to stir, one last failsafe embedded into Zarthan memory long ago, forged in a time when fear ruled all decisions. The severance had activated itself. It had not needed the queen's order. Her hesitation, her surrender, had triggered what the ancients called the echo void, a program designed to destroy not the body, but the idea of rebellion. The sky darkened. All across Zarthan Prime, monuments began to fracture. Archives blinked out. Names disappeared from living histories. Statues of Lura and Nissa in their ceremonial forms cracked. Songs that once whispered their legacies dissolved into silence. Within minutes, they would be forgotten. Forever. Inside the throne dome, an alarm blared. The lights dimmed to red. The walls pulsed like a dying heartbeat. Laura staggered as if struck in the chest, clutching her head. "I can feel it," she gasped. "It's pulling me apart." Nissa dropped to one knee, growling through gritted teeth. "It's removing us." Double quotes. Elias caught them both. No, stay with me." The queen, watching from the steps, paled. "I didn't know. I thought it would obey me. I thought if I stepped aside, it would sleep." "You can stop it," Elias said. She shook her head slowly. "No one can stop the severance. It is older than even the throne. It is encoded in the bones of the planet." The throne behind her cracked. And then something spoke, a voice that was not a voice, vibrating from the core of the citadel itself. "You have chosen unity. Unity is corruption." Erasure initiated. Laura began to fade. Her form flickered like dying light. Nissa screamed, trying to hold herself together, her armor glowing with cracks of white-hot energy. Elias stepped toward the throne. "No!" The queen shouted, "You will be erased too." But Elias didn't stop. He climbed the steps, hand over heart, and reached the throne that had ruled for generations. It wasn't made of metal, not really. It was made of thought, of law, of memory. Sat. And the citadel screamed. Light burst from the center of the world, arching across the skies like fire ripping through silk. The spires cracked. The sea below boiled with reflected rage. The people looked up and saw everything. Elias wasn't just sitting. He was binding. "I accept the burden," he whispered, "all of it. The knowledge, the strength, the mistakes. Let them erase me, not them." The citadel trembled. The severance roared, but then Lara's hand stopped fading. Nissa's form solidified. The queen turned, eyes wide. "You're absorbing it," she whispered. "You're giving it a new shape." Elias gritted his teeth as the throne fused to his body. Visions poured into him, centuries of pain, loyalty, betrayal, law. All of Zarthan history, all of its judgment, all of its fear. "I won't let this world forget them," he growled. "Not now, not ever." And then silence. The citadel calmed. The storm vanished from the sky. The severance was undone. The throne turned to glass beneath Elias, then shattered. Into dust, he slumped forward, breathless. Alive, Allura and Nissa ran to him, catching him before he fell. He looked up at them, smiling through the exhaustion. "Did we do it?" he asked. Laura knelt beside him, placing her hand over his heart. "You didn't just rewrite law," she whispered. "You rewrote memory," Nissa smiled. "The galaxy will. Remember what balance truly means." The queen approached, no longer radiant but real, mortal, changed. "You are no longer outsider," she said. "You are what the throne always feared and always needed. You are bridge. You are bond. You are legend." Elias stood with Allura and Nissa at his sides. "No more chains," he said. "No more forgetting." Lara added. "No more false thrones," Nissa finished. The citadel did not fall. It transformed. The 12 spires folded inward and vanished into light, leaving behind a circular platform of pure memory and open space with no ruler, only voices. In time, the galaxy came to call it the Circle of Choice, a place where laws would be weighed against compassion, and where unity was no longer a crime, but a foundation. As for Elias Voss, he never took a crown, but his name became a whisper among the stars, spoken in courts, in ships, in songs sung by travelers on the Fangs, edge of known space. The man who chose both. And saved them all.